What's up, guys? This is Jalen Thompson of the Identity Crisis podcast.
And I'm Dylan Schweitzer.
Dylan, what are we cooking up today, man?
All right, today we're going to be talking about 4 reasons you could be confident that the hallucinations do not explain away Jesus' post-mortem appearances reported in the New Testament. First one we're going to talk about is hallucinations are not a collective experience. Individuals experience them. 500 people do not experience the same hallucination. So as we know in the New Testament, we have the 11 disciples that are there who reported to see the risen Jesus, and then the 500. And so since hallucinations by definition are a subjective experience, it's very unlikely that all of them had the exact same experience. So an example that we could give really quick with that is we do see people today who have had post-mortem appearances, i.e. seeing a loved one or a family member pass away, and they think they see them at the supermarket, or they think they saw them at the restaurant or something like that. But almost never do we have never do we have someone report that they actually ate a meal with them and that they put their hand in their side and felt the wounds that were healed, or did that for 40 days. Usually they saw them and then they realized, oh yeah, they are dead. I'm mistaken.
Gotcha. And second reason that we can actually say that they don't explain the post-mortem appearances of Jesus is that hallucinations don't come and go. Actually, according to the scriptures, Jesus' appearance is stopped after 40 days. So this would be inconsistent with the nature of hallucinations, because they don't show up here today and then they're gone tomorrow, and it's not like a back and forth type of deal. But with Jesus's appearances, they flat out stopped after 40 days, where eyewitnesses, we don't get people here in 2022 saying that they saw a resurrected Jesus,
right?
And that they ate dinner with him and that they walked with him, they talked with him and things like that. We don't get people doing that anymore. It's inconsistent with the nature of hallucinations.
Yeah, absolutely. Point number 3, we got Paul was an unbelieving persecutor of the church. Are we to assume that he had the exact same hallucination? And so typically, especially if we compare this to hallucinations someone might experience when they have a loved one die, the relationship that loved one has with their loved one, like a spouse or something like that, is going to be different than someone who tried to murder your spouse.
Right.
That's a totally different relationship. Why would you have the same exact subjective experience and report the same or similar information? And so since we know from New Testament documentation that Paul was a persecutor of the church, he killed Christians and felt no remorse, at least from a documented standpoint, then all of a sudden he has an overwhelming, powerful experience of witnessing the risen Jesus. And he completely flips his mind around. That is striking evidence.
And was martyred for this experience as well.
Yeah, he was willing to die for it.
So convinced by it that he was martyred for it. Him along with the other disciples as well. That's a really big point to make. For this to be a hallucination and for that to be the explanation, it doesn't quite explain why these guys are willing to be martyred.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, could you imagine being willing to die for what you think you saw?
Yeah. I think I saw someone. Maybe it was my cousin. I'm not sure.
But are you willing to be beheaded behind that?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Or crucified. Jeez.
Right. So last reason that that hallucinations don't explain the post-mortem appearances of Jesus. The disciples themselves did not expect Jesus actually to rise from the dead, even though he mentioned that he would. They weren't expecting it, and you could see this based on the behavior that they displayed after he passed away. For example,
all ran.
Yeah, they all ran in disillusionment. Peter returned to fishing. There was no galvanization of the troops.
Right.
Until 3 days after the experience, right? After the experience of him dying, and so we have to explain what was this galvanizing experience that happened that all of a sudden explodes into this early church that we read about in the book of Acts. But Mary Magdalene herself, in the Gospel of John, John records that Mary Magdalene was one of the women who went down to the tomb to perform some Jewish burial customs on Jesus's body, and she did not see a gardener near the tomb and think that it was Jesus. The gospel records that she did see a gardener, or that she saw a man near the tomb and thought he was a gardener, right? So that kind of highlights that what was she anticipating when she went down to the tomb? She was anticipating seeing Jesus in the tomb, performing like burial customs, anointing his body with oil. All it was kind of the embalming process, if you will,
Yeah.
and then going on about my day. She was not anticipating Jesus being the person that she was speaking to, who she thought was the gardener.
Right, and that's actually, just to make it full circle, the opposite of point one with what we typically see with postpartum appearances is you think you saw your loved one who was dead, and then you come to your senses and realize, I am mistaken, where in this case we have the opposite. Oh, no, that can't be Jesus. And then, oh my God, no pun intended, it's Jesus.
Right. Guys, that explains these 4 reasons why hallucinations don't explain the postmortem appearances of Jesus. This is a collaboration with Truth Seeker Apologetics. I want to shout out our guy Dave for allowing us to use his content. Make sure you guys actually like and follow his Facebook page for these infographics that you're going to see here on the screen shortly. And we'll continue to collab with Truth Seeker as necessary, or whenever we see fit to do so. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And as always, for the kingdom.